Welcome to the 2025 NBA Draft. My name is Chris Ransom. I'm live on both TalkShoe and Restream, ladies and gentlemen. I just finished both mock drafts are up on the site. I just finished coding the NBA draft results this afternoon. So all three web pages, all two rounds of the NBA draft are ready to go. I have two picks, two grades currently on the site, but I will wait until the first pick is announced to reveal those. In the meantime, head over to X and follow me on Twitter. Head over to X, give me a follow. You can also subscribe to the Draft Utopia YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook. You can do all that good stuff on social media. We really appreciate it. I just want to thank our followers. I want to thank our followers for a few seconds. I want to thank our followers because the reason I want to thank my followers is very simple. We reached 10,000 followers on X. That was my goal for this year. We did it. I'm happy. I'm not just happy for me. I'm happy for the people who are investing in me. I know Joey's going to call in, break down a few picks. He's running a few minutes late, and I appreciate Ron retweeting the NBA draft. We're live, and we're going to get back to the NBA draft because this is where the fun's at. And I don't know. They usually do not announce the first pick until 8:10. I'm going to go, but here you can see the scores. You can see some preseason games. We get Chargers-Lions is the Hall of Fame game, I believe. Colts-Ravens, August 7th. Bengals-Eagles preseason, August 7th. Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA Finals. Right now, the Rangers are destroying the Orioles. The Mets lead the Braves in a landslide. The Yankees lead the Reds 3-0. We got three scoreless MLS games all on a Wednesday night. And Connecticut Sun, Las Vegas Aces. That, I believe, will be on ION or ESPN2 after the NBA draft. And here you can see Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. Those have been the guys since the start of this process. And I already have the first two picks typed up in their entirety. But I'm going to go use the restroom. And then we'll be back and we'll go live. We'll pick. Let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so the 2025 NBA draft is underway. We see Cooper Flagg in the green room. We see Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. These young men, 30 young men are going to get picked tonight, and then the other 29 will get picked tomorrow. And then everybody else in the top 100, there will be some opportunities, some summer league games. I do have a ginger ale and a root beer. I have not drank anything since noon or 11 a.m. That is how hard I've been working. So the Mavericks are officially on the clock. And yeah, I've got a ginger ale. I've got a root beer. I believe this is going to be Cooper Flagg. But again, until it's officially official, yep, the Mavericks have 5 minutes. In previous years, we would leak the pick. Now, if we know who's going to go number one, we don't leak the pick. We wait till a pick is announced. We wait till a pick is leaked on social media, and then we do a deep dive. And I was asked a great question in the chat room. Top 5 athletes in the 2025 draft cycle. And I think Cooper Flagg is number 1, Travis Hunter's number 2. But then the real debate begins at 3, because I think you can make a case for Matthew Schaefer. I think you can make a case for Michael Misa. I think you can make a case for Dylan Harper. I think you can make a case for Will Campbell, the LSU left tackle. I think you can make a case for Alex Harris, the Cornell striker. I think you can make a case for Cade Anderson, the LSU pitcher. I think you can make a case for Jamie Arnold, the Florida State pitcher. That is name. If it's something else, I think you can make a case for Paige Buchers. I know WNBA is not as popular as the NBA, and yeah, but men are biologically bigger, faster, stronger. We're not arguing that. We're not disputing that. It's lunacy to dispute that. But she was the consensus number 1 player in women's college basketball this year. Maybe not to the effect that Caitlin Clark had, but I think you can make an argument for her in the top 5. I really do. If we're just taking every draft-eligible player and putting them in a pool, who's the best? We've known this is going to be Cooper Flagg for weeks now. Even ESPN is showing Flagg in the green room. Okay, everyone, but they're just trying to act surprised. Jays owns you, follows back. You have not missed anything, Joey, but the Mavericks pick is in. It's got to be Cooper Flagg. It's got to be Cooper Flagg. Let's find out. We're not going to leak the pick, but let's find out if it is officially. Okay, it is official. Brett Siegel has officially leaked the first pick. It is Cooper Flagg. Overtime has also leaked the first pick, and this is the first NBA mock draft I've made since October 2nd. Cooper Flagg, I mean, he's going to be a day 1 starter on the Dallas Mavericks. His brother Ace plays at Maine next year. And you know, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson is better at the 2 than he is at the 3. Klay Thompson had to play the 3 last year because the Mavericks had multiple guards that could play at a high level. Now you got him moving back to his natural position with Luka Doncic getting traded, because when Luka was on the Mavericks, you had Kyrie Irving playing the 2, Klay Thompson playing the 3. Everything's out of place. I think Irving moving back to the 1, Thompson moving back to the 2, and Cooper Flagg playing the 3 with PJ Washington and Anthony Davis. And you got some guys like Jaden Hardy, Max Christie, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively II. Maybe Gafford's on a different team, but Cooper Flagg, he was the number 1 recruit in high school basketball. He was able to enroll at Duke a year early, 20.5 points per game as a freshman, and he led the Nokomis regional team to a Class A state championship. And then he did the same thing with Montverde Academy. He led them to a championship, was at the McDonald's All-American game, won Gatorade National Player of the Year and Naismith Player of the Year in the same season as a high school senior. And he was the first teenager and collegiate since 2013 to qualify for the U.S. men's basketball team at the Summer Olympics in France. Has short range, medium range, long range, passing, defending, rebounding, shot blocking. And he can dominate offensively and high point the basketball on defense, whether it's by blocking, rebounding, stealing, can defend the 1 at point guard, the 2 at shooting guard, the 3 at small forward, the 4 at power forward, the 5 at center. His player comparisons were Scottie Pippen and Larry Bird, while his player comparison for defense is Andrei Kirilenko. Some NBA YouTuber compared to Bird. I don't think he's going to be as good as Bird, but hey, I'm throwing all comps out there. Even the ones that sound way too ridiculous to be true. He's a pretty complete prospect. The big drawback with him was he was not seen as an elite ISO scorer coming out of high school, but he showed he could average 19.2 points per game. Led Duke in points, 7.5 rebounds a game, 4.2 assists per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 1.4 steals per game. 48.1 field goal percentage, 38.5 3-point percentage, 84% free throw percentage as a freshman at Duke. He took Duke to the Final Four and led Duke to an ACC championship. And honestly, if I were ranking top 5 prospects every sport in the 2025 draft, Cooper Flagg is number 1, Travis Hunter's number 2. I think you could make an argument for a number of players at 3, but I'm going to go Matthew Schaefer at 3 since he interviewed well, overcame a broken clavicle, mom died of cancer, has just been through hell and back. And I'm going to go with Michael Misa at 4. And I think you can make an argument for Dylan Harper, Paige Buchers, Will Campbell. I think there are a number of athletes you could make that argument for at number 5. I really do. But I'm going to go with Buchers at 5, just to keep things as gender neutral as possible. Even though you can make a case for Harper, you can make a case for a lot of players, but Cooper Flagg, he won the James Naismith Award. So yes, he was the James Naismith College Player of the Year. Best player in college basketball all year. And usually the James Naismith Award goes to a senior or junior. Flagg won it as a freshman. He led Duke in 5 different categories: points, assists, rebounds, blocks, and steals as a true freshman. That is what makes him the most complete athlete in this 2025 draft cycle. That. And I don't think it's disputable, but hey. Okay, our audience sees Dylan Harper at 2. Let's try to conceal that until the pick is officially in. But yeah, A+ for the Mavericks. They got the number 1 player in the draft. This was a very easy pick to make, and not only the number 1 player in this draft, I think the number 1 player in every draft cycle for 2025. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong on that, but I'm going to type in Dylan Harper on X and see what comes up. Because X is a few minutes ahead of everybody else. Mid-Knicks, the Spurs are deciding between 3 players, but it is not final yet. Yeah, so the Spurs, they're going to take a player from Rutgers at 2. The question is, do they want Dylan Harper or do they want Ace Bailey? One of these players is like the peanut butter pretzels, and the other is like the Snyder's cheddar cheese pretzels. One is like the Lutz peanut butter pretzels. I'm not going to say which player is which in terms of interviews, in terms of work ethic. They're both talented players. They both earn the right to go in the top 5. Okay, the Spurs pick is in. That means it's probably Dylan Harper, if I had to guess. Because I already have the write-up for Dylan Harper. It is Dylan Harper. NBA trade news. So Dylan Harper is officially the 2nd pick. The question is, do the Spurs go at De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sochan, Victor Wembanyama can all start when they're healthy. But I think the Spurs already have multiple players that can average 20 points a game. And I think Harper could be that 4th guy who averages 20 points a game. You look at what the Spurs have right now. They have Victor Wembanyama at center. They have De'Aaron Fox at point guard. They have Devin Vassell at shooting guard. And now you get a 3rd guard that can score 20 points a game. And you can move Devin Vassell over to small forward. In theory, because Devin Vassell could defend every position on the court. Even bigs at power forward at center, Devin Vassell is effective defending those guys. So maybe he moves to the 3 with Harrison Barnes entering a contract year and Dylan Harper starts at the 2. I don't know where he's going to play. Dylan Harper's going to be a Spur, but is he going to be eased in as a 6th man like Penny Hardaway, or is he going to have a starting spot in this lineup right out of the gate? That's the big question for me. And I think the Spurs, they got an A-plus grade here. I have the Spurs. So far, no surprises. Those are the only 2 picks I've typed in. Now the work starts. Now we start the freaking work. Because the coding, those are the only 2 picks I had typed. Even I mocked Ace Bailey at 3. All right. I'm going to go find out what the hell the 76ers are doing. Because honestly, I think they're probably going to go to a commercial. And Dylan Harper is like the peanut butter pretzels. Ace Bailey turned down interviews. Ace Bailey turned down some interviews with some teams, even though he was ranked ahead of Dylan Harper initially coming out of high school. Ace Bailey's like the Snyder's cheddar cheese pretzels, and Dylan Harper is like the Lutz Yeah, I'm gonna be like Stephen. Remember 20 years ago, Stephen A. Smith ate cheese doodles during the NBA draft? I'm like Stephen A. Smith with my freaking pretzel bites. Okay, we have some people in the chat room. Utopia, this is where the real draft begins. Yes, this is where the draft begins. Philadelphia 76ers at 3. Who do you want, Johnny Sports Network? If you know who you want, tell me who you want in the chat room below. And yes, Dylan Harper, he is the son of Ron Harper, his brother, highest drafted player by Rutgers in the modern era. I don't know if he's good, because they might move Devin Vassell to wing at small forward. They might start Harper right away. I really don't know what the Spurs are going to do. That's why this is such an intriguing situation, because they could play Harper and Castle off the bench, but they could also start Harper because Harper has the ability to score 20 points a game. And I think we said the same thing about Castle last year. 42 listeners, 39 on X, 1 on Kick, 1 on Twitch, and 1 on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, Philadelphia 76ers. What are we hearing with the 76ers? The 76ers are not locked in on Wawa sandwiches. That's not original or funny. Now, if you made a joke about the Philadelphia 76ers trading the 3rd pick to Jersey Mike's for the Brooklyn Nets and Jersey Mike's, that would be funny. Okay, so the 76ers, I am going to copy and paste something from my mock draft here. Yeah, so Dylan Harper's a Spur. It is VJ Edgecombe. So Edgecombe's officially the pick. So I'm just getting the code up because I don't have the code up on the site right now. And it is BJ Edgecombe. And Edgecombe can play either role. He can play either shooting guard or small forward, but I think he has the body of a shooting guard. It is VJ Edgecombe. Yeah, Edgecombe goes number 3 here. And Edgecombe was the 4th best player in this draft, but Ace Bailey didn't show up to the interviews. And again, I compared Ace Bailey to the Snyders. He thinks he's big cheese, but you don't show up to the interviews, you're not big cheese. Yeah, very lame pun, but Edgecombe showed up. He participated in the draft process, and Daryl Morey's a big analytics guy. There are some Reddit users saying Morey was going to take Edgecombe. So Edgecombe's going to go number 3 here unless the intel that's leaking the picks is wrong. Yep, it is VJ Edgecombe. So we've got the write-up done. Everything's going perfect. So VJ Edgecombe. All right, finally done. You can't do a WhatsApp update while I'm covering the draft. That's not cool. Okay, so another A+ grade here. Edgecombe's my 4th best player. I have Ace Bailey at 3, but Ace Bailey was flaking on a lot of interviews. So that's why VJ Edgecombe. This is where things get interesting because VJ Edgecombe, number 3 pick. But yeah, Edgecombe. I'm not sure if Oubre's going to start, but so 3 picks in, the Hornets are on the clock. I've got Edgecombe listed as a shooting guard, but he can play either position. He really can with his versatility, his skill set. Let me update VJ Edgecombe on the ticker for route 2. Let's see if we have any Hornets intel here. Payne Hoops is saying it's Trey Johnson out of Texas. All right, Joey. Top 2 picks were as expected, but because Philadelphia was either going to take VJ Edgecombe or Ace Bailey, I've had Ace Bailey on the top of in my top 3 for most of the year. And when Harper outperformed him, he dropped from 2 in the high school rankings to 3. But Ace Bailey did not show up. He refused to interview with NBA teams. He felt like his talent was bigger than the draft process. And as a result, VJ Edgecombe, who is a high character guy, high analytics guy, ends up going 3rd to Philly. And even though the Hornets could take Ace Bailey at 4, it sounds like they might take Texas shooting guard Trey Johnson, who's also talented, also trusted the interview process, also a high character guy. So we'll see. Con Newpel could be in play here too with Charlotte. But
none of this surprises me. I've been following Jason Lloyd on this, and he's been in the NBA draft rooms for years. He covered the NBA before the NFL. He's an NBA expert, and he just said a lot of these things. That this is probably something that's going to happen. So none of this really surprises me too much. What does surprise me is we're 4 picks through, and I expected number 3 to potentially end up getting shipped out. I expected a trade there. We didn't get it.
I never expected a trade. The Philadelphia 76ers were looking at 2 guys, Ace Bailey and Edgecombe. They were both consensus top 4 players. It just came down to character and which guy checked off more boxes for Daryl Morey. So nothing's.
I heard that Philadelphia was willing to trade it for the right price. Obviously, they didn't get the right price. They didn't get the price they wanted.
They probably wanted 4 or 5 and a first next year and like a second in 2027. Something exorbitant. And they weren't, and a team wasn't going to give that up. So
they're probably shopping it for freaking, the bank,
Charlotte's pick is in. Number 4, it is, what do we have? No, we don't have a pick. And knowing ESPN, they are probably going to go to a commercial because A, Charlotte's a small market team, and B, it's a great way to create drama for the NBA draft. No, we have a surprise pick. Con Newpel is number 4. Con Newpel, and I have Trey Johnson and Ace Bailey graded ahead of Con Newpel. So that is a very, I know Con Newpel's a local guy, good player, and the Hornets need a shooting guard, but I can't give this an A+ grade. I'm not going to give it a bad grade, but I can't give it an A plus grade in good conscience. And you could argue that Edge Coom is an A instead of an A plus, but he trusted the interview process and Bailey didn't. So if that's what it came down to, I'm going to give Daryl Morey the benefit of the doubt. But Con Newple at 4, that's a kind of a puzzling pick. I mean, I know Charlotte needed a point guard.
That's the first surprise pick. That's the first surprise pick.
I know shooting guard is Charlotte's biggest need, but they took the third best guy, in my opinion. Ace Bailey's 1, and I think Trey Johnson's 2, and I think they're both significantly better than Con Newple. And I'm a Duke fan. I love Duke basketball, but I don't think Con Newple's as good as those two. Just my 2 cents. And we seem to agree on that.
Yeah, we've learned over the years that culture really doesn't mean as much in the NBA for prospects as it does in the NFL. The talent matters more in the NBA. Now, if it's the likes of Trae Young, where nobody wants to play with him, and everybody who has played with him says this dude's
well,
crap.
he was the Robin to Cooper Flagg's Batman when Flagg was in the lineup. When Flagg got injured, he became the Batman for a few games until during the ACC tournament. So maybe that, the local status, the local appeal, I don't know. Maybe that's what sold Charlotte on him. I'm not going to... I think this is anywhere... I'm going to give this a B because I think you could argue this is as low as a C+, but I also think you could argue it's high as an A-. So that evens out to a solid B.
Well, for me, I look at it like this. I give them the benefit of the doubt because it is local. I look at the thought process of this. Ohio State has one of the best football programs in the nation. You have the Bengals and Browns and the Steelers right there in that circle. What excuse do they have not to have somebody there every single day? They don't have any excuse. If you're there every single day, you might see something that...
You could argue B+. You really could. You could argue this is a B+ because of the local ties, but I can't in good conscience give it in A+, because I think there are 2 shooting guards better than this guy. But
absolutely not. Absolutely not. But at the same time, you can. The rationale is
this is as low as a C+, as high as an A-. You could argue it's a B, but with the local ties, I think that bumps it up to a B+. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you can get there every day, you might know something about this guy we don't. So you get the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah. Well said.
Residential area, slow down. Damn humans. Don't need to run over a group of kids just because you have a need for speed on a residential road.
And I heard rumors that Brooklyn was trying to move up to 4 for Con Newple today. That's one of the rumors I heard. And Charlotte was probably like, we want 8. We want your pick at 20, and we want your next 2 natural first. We want one of your first rounders in 26 or 27. Brooklyn's like, no, we got 5 first rounders this year. Take 2 of those and let a few seconds, or we're gonna stay put. That's probably what happened, and then the talks broke down. That's probably what happened, Joey.
Yeah, because I didn't hear that Brooklyn was probably gonna move some things up. That's one of the things I heard.
Because that one thing I read on X earlier this afternoon is Brooklyn was trying to get Con Newple. I mocked Con Newple to Brooklyn at 8. Brooklyn was trying to move up to 4 to get Con Newple.
And they probably wanted a freaking Ransom for him.
Danny Ainge is on the clock. Let's see what X is saying about the Jazz. Mavs Wild is saying it's Jeremiah Feats, who is a terrible 3-point shooter. That's what they're saying. And I like the guy from Lithuania better than Jeremiah Fears, but Fears has great athleticism, and the fact that he's a bad 3-point shooter, I guess the Jazz don't care about that. They need a point guard, but I think they took the second best one. But I'll give it an A. I'm not going to give it an A+, but I'll give it a solid A because I do trust Ainge's judgment. But I'm not going to give it an A+. And that's fair. That's fair.
The thing with Fears is an amazing all-around player.
Amazing athlete.
And if he can facilitate...
He's a great facilitator. His decision-making just needs to be more refined. The questions with him are the defense and three-point shooting. And that's why I would take the Illinois point guard over him.
Well, the thing is,
but the Illinois point guard's not a great athlete, and Fears is an exceptionally good athlete.
Well, here's the thing with three-point shooting. The only thing you have to do if you're a good facilitator is keep moving and be able to hit the open shot. If you can hit the open three, that's where, you will make your money on the three-point shot. If you can facilitate, you will have that luxury to hit open three, uncontested. So that's where...
Well, I think the Jazz are taking a point guard, and let me explain why. They have Colin Sexton a contract year. Keontae George took the shooting guard job from Jordan Clarkson. Lauri Markkanen got extended at small forward. You have John Collins at power forward with Trey Hendrickson, your 2023 first round pick for depth, and Walker Kessler blossomed at center after a rough rookie and sophomore campaign. Walker Kessler finally broke out in year 3. So what does that leave as position of need by default? Point guard, Joey. Because they have depth everywhere else except point guard, and Sexton's in a contract year. And Clarkson's also in a contract year. And remember,
Sexton is not a facilitator. He's a scorer.
He was a scorer coming out of Alabama. He could play both roles at the 1 and 2 coming out of Alabama, but he is a scorer, not a facilitator. You're right.
Yeah. So that could be argued as the reason that they're picking in this position is that they've got a natural 2 in a one body that's playing the 1.
Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, the Rutgers. But Ace Bailey can play point guard. Ace Bailey can play shooting guard, point guard, and small forward. But I'm hearing Ace Bailey. I'm also hearing, it's Ace Bailey. So Ace Bailey, Arius Ace Bailey, the Rutgers guard, is Danny Ainge's pick at 5. So best player on the board, but I'm not sure.
That is purely the best player available to, where you are just too good to pass up at that point. So that's basically what that pick was. You had the best player out there, too good to pass up. And it's like, we can figure out the rest.
Yeah, he played all 5 positions in high school. Including point guard. He had the versatility to play all 5 positions, but he was 6'7", 203. He was never big enough to play power forward or center. But he had experience in, pickup basketball, middle school, playing power forward and center before converting to guard in high school. But,
And this is the thing. Danny Ainge ain't stupid. Okay? You see people all the time in all sports.
So I'm going to list Ace Bailey as a point guard, even though his natural position's shooting guard, small forward, I'm going to list him as a point guard because he can play all 5 positions, and that's the Jazz's biggest need.
Well, here's the thing. Danny Ainge isn't stupid. We know in all sports they pass up on the best players because of interview skills or...
Well, Ace Bailey kept flaking on interviews. He was the consensus 3rd best player.
But at the same time, Danny Ainge knows there's one thing in sports that trumps everything else. You might get butt hurt as owners or GMs or presidents or whatever because of how somebody looks or plays or what their parents do, this, that, or the other. But the bottom line is, if you can ball, Danny Ainge knows this very well. If you can ball, at the end of the day, that's going to trump everything else. You know, and like we've seen it time and time again in sports history. Oh,
his dad played college basketball. I talked about Ace Bailey's family ties in the podcast on Saturday. His dad played college ball at Houston. His mother played college ball at West Virginia. His Aunt Venus was in the WNBA on the 1996 U.S. Olympic women's team that won a gold medal. He had 12 schools looking at him. I thought Maury would fall in love with the family background. He fell in love with the analytics like the Reddit user suggested. Ainge fell in love with the family background. That's probably why he took Bailey.
Yeah, because remember, who were Danny Ainge's teammates? Charles Barkley, Tom Chambers, Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, all-time greats, Robert Parrish, Taylor McHale. Who are Danny Ainge's teammates? All different backgrounds, all different situations when they came up. Those were Danny Ainge's teammates. Those were Danny Ainge's mentors. Okay, so who best to fall in love with who the person is than Danny Ainge? Who's best to fall in love with the story? Danny Ainge. Who's best to fall in love with the talent? Danny Ainge. Who's going to look, even though Danny Ainge at one point in time obliterated the NBA mark for three-point shooting? Who's going to ignore the analytics? Danny Ainge. Even though at one point he was the analytics standard. And still remains to this day the only person to ever be an All-American in baseball, basketball, and football in the same thing.
Which is amazing. That's unheard of. But like, I'm trying. The Spurs got Dylan Harper at 2. Are they going to ease him in on the bench like the Magic did with Penny Hardaway, or are they going to start him right away? Because they could move Devin Vassell to small forward. Devin Vassell's an exceptional defender. He's a shooting guard, but he can defend centers and power forwards despite being a shooting guard. So you could move him to the wing at small forward, and you could start Harper at shooting guard, and you could start De'Aaron Fox at point guard, and you could start Wemby at center. And you'd have 4 players in your starting 5 that can get you 20 points a game, which will win you a lot of basketball games.
Well, Penny Hardaway was a little bit different because they had a proven winning.
And Scott Skiles. And De'Aaron Fox is a top 5 point guard, so he can mentor Bailey.
Yes.
So he can mentor Harper. You don't have to rush Harper into the starting lineup. That's the luxury the Spurs have. They didn't rush Stephon Castle to the lineup, and he averaged over 10 points a game. That's worked out for them. So.
Because you had Scott Skiles and Brian Shaw. You didn't have to rush Penny Hardaway at all.
And the Spurs, you don't have to rush Dylan Harper because you have De'Aaron Fox. But De'Aaron Fox and Wembanyama both coming off season-ending injuries. So if they're not medically cleared, then we are having a conversation about rushing Harper. But
then things become a little bit different.
I know Ace Bailey's natural position, shooting guard and small forward, but he played all 5 positions in high school, and Utah needs a point guard if they don't have depth at point guard. So I have Ace Bailey listed as a point guard in the draft results page, even if it's not factually correct, because the versatility.
The thing with Ace Bailey is that he's an amazing athlete and an amazing player. The question is, can he convert that versatility on a professional level? That's where the question's going to come in. Because it's easy to do, because I have long been a critic of the pro to college style because they're almost the same. But let's face it, even I will admit, just because the style is the same, the level is just a step above. So can he produce this type of versatility on both levels? Because we're not looking at somebody who played two positions.
Because Keontae George is still on a rookie deal at shooting guard, the Jazz 2023 first-round pick. You also have Lauri Markkanen extended, Walker Kessler on a rookie deal for 2 more years, George 3 more years before he becomes an RFA, Kessler 2 years till he becomes an RFA, and then you also have not only do you have John Collins in a contract year, you got Trey Hendrickson, top 10 pick at power forward back in 2023. He's learned under Collins for 2 years. He'll have a 3rd year where learned under him. He should be ready by... Okay, so the Wizards are not going to take a point guard. They're going to trust Bub Carrington at point guard. They are going to take Trey Johnson. I do think Trey Johnson's the best player available at 6, Joey. Problem is the Wizards, they have CJ McCollum. But CJ McCollum's in a contract year, so I'm guessing the Wizards are already anticipating that they are probably going to move McCollum at the trade deadline, and they are probably going to ease him in behind McCollum. That is probably the thought process, Joey.
Well, but for me, I think that those two can play together. I think they have.
They're both twos. They're both shooting guards. Neither one's a facilitator. That's what makes it tricky. But I do think those are the 2 best guards in the lineup. I think both of those guys are better, but they did draft Bub Carrington 14th out of Pittsburgh last year, but he didn't average very many points a game. I think he's a better passer, but he doesn't score as consistently as those 2, and that's the big thing. And NBA is a scoring league now.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I look at facilitators so heavily, because it's like, look at John Stockton. John Stockton developed into a shooter, but when he came in, he was just straight facilitator. And the Jazz points per game went up considerably. If you can facilitate the offense and get people in positions to score and hit the right passes, you can boost your team's scoring without touching the ball. I think Larry Bird once had 8 assists and didn't take a single shot, and the Celtics ended up coming back and winning the game simply off those assists in like the 3rd quarter when they were down big time.
Yeah, he was Texas Mr. Basketball, 21.8 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 2.7 assists, but he hits over 40% of his three-point shots and 90% of his free throw shots. That's the thing that makes Trey Johnson so exceptional, Joey. Not only can he hit 40% from three-point range, he can hit 90% from the free throw line. And it's just very hard to pass that up.
And here's something I'm also going to bring up. Okay, there was a guy that was one of the best offensive players in the NBA in the 90s. But went to Chicago, and when Michael Jordan came back, moved to point guard named Ron Harper.
His son just got drafted by the Spurs, but yeah.
One of the best point guards in the NBA for like 3 years. One of the best defensive players, one of the best facilitators. He could take over a game whenever he wanted to. But he didn't. And that's what I look at when you're drafting 2 shooting guards. Can one of them, I use Ron Harper as the model, can one of them get facilitated?
I liked Bub Carrington at Pittsburgh, but the problem is he really didn't seize that moment as a rookie, and he's not as good of a shooter as McCollum but I'm guessing he probably starts out as a 6th man, and if they trade McCollum, if they can't re-sign McCollum, they trade him at the deadline if they're out of contention, and it's Carrington and Trey Johnson in the second half. That's probably what you'll end up getting.
Well, Tony Kukoc and Kevin McHale are both in the Hall of Fame, mainly as 6 men, and 2 of the best 6 men of all time. So, I mean, is it really a bad thing to start out as a 6 man? Just asking. The historical references show it's not a bad thing. In fact, it may be the best thing for your career. So, I mean,
Yeah, I gave the Wizards an A+ because Trey Johnson was my 5th best player on the board. I just wasn't sure where he was going to end up. But I think the Illinois guy probably comes off the board here. We'll see. Because there were a lot of Jazz fans saying they were going to go Jeremiah Fears, and they didn't. And both point guards, the Illinois
guy.
William told me about the Illinois guy. The Illinois guy is let me look it up. I've got this stuff archived on my site. The name. It is Kasparis Jakusionis. Kasparis Jakusionis. That's William. Yeah, I like Jakusionis more than Fears, but Fears is a better athlete. Jakusionis is a better scorer and passer despite lacking the athleticism.
I thought that was his whole name. I thought his last name was his first and last name.
Yeah.
So I mean, that may be my fault.
Daniel Bell is saying Kalan Malak, the Duke center, could come off the board at 7 here. And they would pass on Derek Queen and get another center to pair with Yevs Missy, their first round center at Baylor, who they drafted at 21. But that, we'll see what.
We saw how that ended up. You know, when I hear about him, the only thing I think of is, you know, Eric Montcalm was
okay, Jeff Goodman has reported that the Pelicans are going to take Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma at 7.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
I disagree. I think Malak would be a better pick than Fears, but I don't think I could bring myself to give either pick an A grade.
Yeah, it's like when I hear it, I'm like, the Dukes and I'm like, I saw him play. It's like, he reminds me of.
Now, the big question is, do I go B- or C+ or C? That's what I'm debating. I think I'm going to go C+ because that's sort of a fine medium between the two.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, it's like,
if he was a better 3-point shooter and defender, this would be an A-, but he's not a good 3-point shooter or defender on tape, and that's kind of a deal breaker with me now. If he develops that, he could be the steal of the draft. He could very easily be the steal of the draft. We saw it with Trae Young. Trae Young was exceptional offensively, but there were questions about his defense coming out of Oklahoma. And
there's no questions about his defense. What are you talking about?
But that was the reason I wanted. That's the reason I like Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton was a better defender than Trae Young in Alabama. But nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody in NBA circles wants to have that conversation with me. I saw that on the tape, and that's what the tape shows, Joey. The tape is never wrong.
Yeah, and you know me, Chris. Like I am old school basketball to the core. You know, it's just where it's like I will rock the old school basketball thing until I'm dead. So players that exude that confidence and that style of play will always look better upon. But at the same time, you got to have the skills. You got to be able to translate it into today's game. And you translate, it's like, can you be a Donovan Mitchell? Can you be a Wemby?
Well, DeJounte Murray is under contract with the New Orleans Pelicans until 2028. And he has a player option in 2027. So Fears is probably going to learn under DeJounte Murray for 2 years, and then he's probably going to start in 2027 because I don't see him starting on this team unless Murray gets injured because he's raw. He needs to fix his defense and his 3-point. And if he learns under Murray, I think he can be a success. I really do. If he learns under Murray and he actually focuses on defense, focuses on 3-point shooting, and learns the bench player to master those two things, I think he could be the steal of this draft.
I actually heard today that Murray could be traded, that there are a few people looking to trade for him, especially people in the first and second apron, they're looking to say, okay, let's make a swap. That Murray may be.
If Murray gets traded, I do believe fears will start. But are we going to see that? Because last year, I think TJ McCollum went from Portland to the Pacers for the 14th pick in the draft or something like that in last year's draft. So are we going to see Murray get moved in that capacity? That's the big question.
It is a question. And I'm kind of surprised because, we're hearing about a lot of possible trades.
Murray's only 29. I don't think he gets moved this year. He might get moved in 2026, but Murray is not going to turn 30 until next year.
I'm thinking trade deadline.
Yeah.
I'm thinking trade.
Because you have him under contract for 2 years. And DeJounte Murray, he was born in...
That's what makes it appealing.
Yeah, I agree. He was born September 19th, 1996, so he's only 28. Spotrack's saying he's 29. He turns 29 next season, but he's only 28 right now. He'll be 29 in September. That's why I say next offseason he gets traded. I don't think he gets traded right now. I say next offseason, unless the team offers like a premium haul for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I say trade deadline.
I say next year's draft, next offseason, but either way, I think we're in agreement as far as the timeline goes because the player option, he can activate that in 2027 and he's a UFA in 2028. So either way, you have 1 year, maybe two. Maybe two.
As long as you get 2 years of control, I think that's the big thing. You get 2 years of control. And if you have a year and a half of control, fine. As long as you get that extra year of control for the team. That is the big thing, and that's across all sports. The teams love that extra year of control. Whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever, they want that extra year.
Yeah, and there's talk about revising the NHL draft contracts, the rookie contracts. Like if you're 18 and if you get drafted at age 18, you would be on a rookie deal for 4 years instead of 3 years until you're 22. If you get drafted at age 19, you'd be on a rookie contract for 3 years from 19 to 22. If you get drafted at 20, you would be on a rookie contract for 2 years until you're 21. And if you get drafted at 21, you would be on a rookie contract for 1 year and then you'd become an RFA. The NHL is having conversations about revising the rules for the rookie contracts in hockey. And it sounds like they're going to be similar to football if they go that route. That's why I found it so interesting.
That is interesting because hockey don't change skin. Okay, hockey is...
And I'd be down for that. If the player gets drafted at 18, they are on a rookie contract for 4 years instead of 3. I would be down with that. I think that's a good rule.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it. I don't have a problem with it. That would be in line with, the NFL and everything. And let's face it, we've been talking about it for a couple years.
Because right now, the salaries are getting out of control for number 1 picks. Slavkovsky only had 10 points as a rookie. He had 50 points, and he got $7.6 million over 8 years. So Connor Bedard's probably going to get like $8 million over 8 years because of all the hype he had pre-draft, even though you could argue that's a little too much to pay him right now. But that's probably what the Blackhawks are going to end up paying him. They'll probably give him $8 million for 8 years. That's probably what he'll get this summer. And that's why the NHL needs to make it 4 years for 18-year-olds, 4 years in a rookie contract. That's exactly why it gives the teams more control.
Yeah, and that's why the NFL changed their rookie structure, because these rookies are coming in making more than veterans that have been in there and getting longer contracts than veterans that have been in there for...
Because with all these young stars coming in the NHL draft, McDavid, Bedard this year entering final year of his rookie deal, Macklin Celebrini entering the final year of his rookie deal, and Matthew Schaefer's going to be next after that, then Gavin McKenna, you're going to have to make it so that you have these guys on rookie contracts for 4 years. Otherwise, the salaries are going to get out of control after the player's sophomore year. That's why I think the NHL recognizes there's a problem.
Yeah, it's like the NFL recognized the same problem 2 years ago, which is why they put the rookie pay scale in. It's like when the rookies start making so much that the veterans are like, the fuck is this? These people haven't done anything. That's when you have.
I like Bedard, but there's people that are saying he's not going to sign with the Blackhawks until he gets 9.1 a year. That's what his agent wants, 9.1 a year. He had 62 and 68 points in 2 years. You have not earned $9 million a year yet. I'm open to paying you $8 million a year for 8 years or $7 million for 7 years or whatever you want to do. You haven't done enough to earn $9 million yet. And I think you're going to be a star. I think you're going to be a top 5 player in the league in 5 years. But you haven't done enough to earn $9 million yet. That's the reality, Joey. And I hate to say that.
And who was it that called the NFL to do the same thing? I think it was Matt Ryan got like $50 million.
But that's the thing. I mean, Slavkovsky got $7.6 million. He went number 1 over Shane Wright, only had 50 points. He got $7.6 million over 8 years. Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, they're seeing that. And they're probably thinking, well, I'm getting $8 million at least over 8 years. Their agents are seeing that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's just like in the NFL when they saw the Matt Ryan contract and everybody's like, whoa. This is just a $57 million for like 6 years? Hey, he hasn't done shit. No, absolutely not. And that's what the NHL is seeing right now.
Okay, we have a surprise pick at 8. Igor Demin to the Brooklyn Nets. I like Igor Demin. I actually had him at around this draft range at the beginning of the year. I'm just surprised the Nets took him this early because it seemed like the hype with him died down a little bit, even though Igor Demin was the biggest reason I picked BYU to make the Sweet 16, Joey, in my March Madness bracket.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I had to stop for a second and think, I don't hate the pick.
I'm just surprised he went this early.
So am I, but it's like, it makes sense. I don't hate the pick.
I'm probably going to give it a solid A. I'm not going to give it an A+, but I'm probably going to give it a solid A because I really like the pick. I'm surprised he went this early, but I don't have anything against the pick.
Yeah, he's a good player. I'm like, that's why I had to stop. I didn't think he hit it, so I'm like, hey, a good player, a good pick. It's like, I'm not going to poo-poo this pick. It's a good pick.
And the Illinois player's still on the board at 9. So do you take a center with... What if the Rockets get the Illinois point guard at 10? They just lost to pair with... They traded Jalen Green, their shooting guard. It sounds like Reed Shepherd will probably start at shooting guard. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but... No, the Rockets traded number 10 to the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns have that pick back now. So
yeah, because of
and the Rockets don't pick in this draft. So
wasn't it
the Rockets are going to have Freddie VanVleet at point guard. They're going to have Reed Shepherd at shooting guard, Kevin Durant at small forward. Alperen Sengun's going to be the center, and then the guy from Auburn that the Rockets drafted is the power forward, Jabari Smith. That's a very good lineup under Ukota.
Yeah, I think the Rockets are going to have one of the best.
I would not be surprised if we got a Rockets Thunder Conference Finals, but I would love to see a Mavericks Spurs play-in game on ESPN with Charles Barkley making the big old women joke on ESPN, and then you got Ernie Johnson's like, the producers at ESPN, come on, Chuckster, you don't want to. We got a new opportunity. The new producers at ESPN, come on, Chuckster, and then you got Malika Andrews laughing her ass off at the Barkley jokes with Shaq.
It's interesting because let's face it, ESPN is owned by Disney. But Disney is still looking to make as much money as humanly possible, and Chuck brings dollars, he brings eyeballs.
Yep.
Chuck's a moneymaker, so it's like, he don't know his behavior. God damn, he just made $6 million last night. It's like,
Because if we get a Spurs play-in game and it's on ESPN, I think Charles Barkley's going to say something about San Antonio on ESPN. He's going to test the waters. He's not going to completely get rid of that routine.
That's the only trash talker that was ever worse than him was. But he said he puts himself outside of her. He puts himself as the biggest trash talker in history. And then TNT is like, hey, Chuck, here's your charity. And now ESPN's like, oh my God, we got Chuck. What do we do with this? We're on about Disney. Like, Charles Barkley is now a Disney princess. It's like, could you imagine Charles Barkley as a Disney princess? And like, oh, Charles, I love you. Charles like, you're that fat one from San Antonio, aren't you? Then you get Charlie Brown just walking away, head bowed. Like, fuck Charles. Killed my life.
Yeah, we'll have Charles Barkley. I've got a feeling we're going to see a promo with Charles Barkley and the Toy Story 5 cast, because Toy Story 5 comes out June 19th, 2016. You can have a Charles Barkley commercial with the cast of Toy Story. I think I just pitched a good idea to ABC. You got Woody and Buzz Lightyear going up to Charles Barkley and going, Chuck, who's your favorite toy? And Chuck goes, I don't like either of you. I like Mr. Potato Head. Or I like the Slinky. I like the dog Slinky. I don't like either of you knuckleheads. Chuck would say something like that. And people would eat it up.
Yeah, we're going through the things that Chuck would say. It's like,
I mean, the other Disney movies that they can use Charles Barkley in to promote, they have the Moana live action movie. They might use him for that. They've got Ice Age 6. Ice Age got picked up by Disney. Hoppers. It's a and then there's Avengers Doomsday and Spider-Man Brand New Day. So they're not going to incorporate Marvel into. If they use Barkley for a Disney promo, it's probably going to be Toy Story 5, but it might be Moana live action because that's July 10th, June 19th. I got the dates, all that good stuff. But yeah, let's get back on topic.
Remember, Charles Barkley was the one his mom said, why are you voting Republican? They're all rich people. And Charles looked at his mom straight in the eye and said, yeah, but Mama, I'm rich. Same guy that told his mama that. And you're expecting him to...
The big question with Igor Demin was the three-point shooting. That was the question at Real Madrid, but he fixed that at BYU. So I think that's why he went as high as he did.
Well, let's face it. The European three-point line was something that the NBA has pretty much adopted, which they didn't adopt before, back in the 90s. Because remember, European three-point line was about 3 feet further than the NBA three-point line back in the day. If you look at those old videos, you'll see you've got about a 12-inch between the out-of-bounds line and the three-point line on the corner. Okay, it was 23.6 all the way around. Very close. Now I think it's about 20.6. Really close.
Okay, we have a surprise pick at 9. South Carolina power forward Colin Murray Boyles, who's not a great three-point shooter, not a great defender, goes to the Toronto Raptors at 9.
I'm guessing he's a good rebounder and he's good from mid-range, but he doesn't. But if he can't guard,
his girlfriend's on the South Carolina women's team, the Lady Gamecocks. So,
But if you
and
can't
both of them
score,
are dressed nice. Both of them are dressed nice. So that might be enough to move it up from a C- to a pure C. Just
Yeah.
they're both dressed nice. They're both dressed nice. Both the man and the woman in the couple are dressed nice, which is why I might bump this up from a C- to a C. I don't think the pick's bad enough to warrant a D grade, but it is a massive reach.
My big problem is a good low post. He's good in mid-range, which is fine. You know, it's what I like in a big man. I don't care about his three.
But he's not going to take the starting power forward job from Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year. He's been amazing. And I just don't think no matter what Colin Murray Boyles does, he's always going to be in Scotty Barnes' shadow. That's the problem.
It's not even about being in a shadow. Because if you cannot guard power forwards at that level, it doesn't matter if you're...
He's not a great defender. He's not a great three-point shooter. And the Raptors already have an exceptional power forward in Scotty Barnes. So I really don't understand this pick at 9. There are better options.
If he was a better defender, then I would have understood it at least. But he's not a good defender. Because if he was a better defender...
You know, one player I am much higher on than the consensus is Villanova senior Eric Dixon. He led the country with 23.3 points per game. 6'7", 258 pounds. I am much higher on Eric Dixon than the consensus. He has a second-round grade, but I have Eric Dixon in my top 20. That should say something, Joey. I have him at number 20, but that should say something. You don't move up, because Eric Dixon's projected to go around pick 55. You don't move up from 55 to the top 20 unless you're uber freaking talented on my board.
You know who else had a second-round grade that turned out to be pretty darn good? Xavier McDaniel. Had a pretty damn good career with the Sonics and Celtics, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, you know, no.
I mocked Colin Murray Boyles to the Orlando Magic with the Denver Nuggets first round pick. So
where is McDaniel taken anyway? I know he had a second round grade by a lot of teams. Get my handy dandy phone out here.
Yeah, I am going to give this a C- only because they have Scotty Barnes. And I don't think this guy could be the best version of himself and he's still not going to matter. As long as Scotty Barnes is healthy, he's always going to be the backup. That's my issue with the pick more than anything else. I actually think him and his girlfriend both dress nice. I'm complimenting both of them. I'm not playing favorites. I think they're a cool couple. They both play basketball. It's a good story. So I'm not going to say anything bad about either of them, but no matter how hard this guy works, I just don't think he's going to be as good as Scotty Barnes. Unless Barnes has like multiple season-ending injuries, Murray Boyles is just going to be a bench player, like maybe a high-end bench player, but that's all he's going to be in Toronto. He's going to have to go somewhere else to blossom.
Yeah, he ended up being the 4th overall pick. David McDaniel ended up being the 4th overall pick, but there were a couple by Seattle, but a couple teams had him as a second-round prospect. And so he made quite a living for himself, defying expectations. And, he played for Sonics, the Suns, the Knicks, the Celtics. The hell was that? Iraqus, something that I cannot pronounce. And then the Nets in 96 to 98. And I didn't even know he played that long. I thought the Celtics were...
And I thought Scotty Barnes got extended, because I believe he got extended already. If he didn't, maybe Toronto's basic... Yeah, Scotty Barnes signed a 5-year contract with the Raptors. He is getting 40... This is just an estimate, but he's getting a 5-year contract with an average of $44.8 million, $224 million over 5 years. And he's a 2030 UFA. That is what the Raptors are paying Scotty Barnes, and he's only 23. This guy's already 19. He's in a situation like Halliburton, because at the time Halliburton was not going to start on Sacramento. He was good enough to start, but Sacramento had De'Aaron Fox. Now they don't have Fox or Halliburton, and they look like idiots for trading away both guys. But, yeah. No first-round pick either. So I am going to go C- here, only because if Scotty Barnes wasn't playing power forward, I'd have less of an issue with this pick, but it's just the fact that I just don't think Murray Boyles can reach the ceiling that Barnes set, because Barnes was a player who exceeded a lot of expectations coming out of college in his draft year. And I liked Barnes, but I liked Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, and Jalen Green more. And Barnes showed he was the truth. Barnes showed he was legitimate. And then he warranted going in that top 5. So,
that pisses me off. This pisses me off. I'm just reading the headline that SGA Alexander, after the NBA title win, agreed that he's the best player in the world. LeBron James.
There's only 3 players that won NBA Finals MVP and NBA MVP in the same season. Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just saying. I'm not saying he's as good as those 2, but he's earned the right to be in the conversation. And the Thunder, youngest NBA champion since the 1977 Portland Trailblazers. And they've got a 26-year-old Shai. They've got a 23-year-old Chet Holmgren and a 24-year-old Jalen Williams. I think they will win another title, but they will not repeat. But I do think they get a second title with that core. They're too young.
Look at it for what it is, Chris. Best players in the world. Larry Bird gave all the credit to Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson gave all the credit to Larry Bird. Michael Jordan said, hell no, I'm not the best player in the world. He's like, I don't have to be the best player in the world. And then you get Kobe Bryant says, oh, absolutely not. I am nowhere near that.
Because once a lot of people win that first NBA title, they credit their teammates. Whereas Shai's taking this me guy approach. I'm the best in the world. And I think it just pisses you off.
It's not even the first title. It's the fact that it's the same thing that pissed me off with Cardinals stuff. I'm the best player in the world. There's fucking who. Absolutely not your player. Because you can't hit a fucking shot outside of 3 feet to save their lives.
The Rockets just took Kaman. So Kaman Malak is going to go to the Phoenix Suns. The Duke center is going to go to the Phoenix Suns at number 10.
So Eric Montross 2.0 is going to the Phoenix Suns. I'm sure that's going to impress.
They needed a center to round out their starting 5, but I think they should have picked Derek Queen. I have Derek Queen ahead of Malak, but Malak was the consensus number 1 center. But he got benched for another. I think Duke had another center who scored more points than Malak, too. That's the other thing.
Like I said, Eric Montross 2.0. I mean, he's a solid guy, nothing special.
I'm probably going to give this an A. I'm not going to give this an A+, but this was the consensus top center. And the Suns' biggest need was at center, so.
Yeah, not impressed with him. He's not special.
Wes was saying he belonged in the top 5. And I know Wes is a big Duke fan. I like him, but I disagree with Wes on that one. That evaluation.
Well, at the time I was a big North Carolina fan, I liked Eric Montross too. Eric Montross.
His ceiling might be Mutombo as a defender, but his floor is Hasheem Thabeet. And if he's closer to his floor than his ceiling, you are getting a bust. That's the reality. Hasheem Thabeet was one of the biggest busts in NBA history. Even if he reached his ceiling as a defender, you're getting a poor man's Mutombo. You're not getting modern day Mutombo.
Let's not put him in Mutombo.
He defends like Mutombo. If you saw him before he was at Duke, he defends like Mutombo. I'm not saying he scores. He defends like him. And he defended like him in Africa. He didn't defend like him at Duke. That's the thing, though.
Only 2 players in NBA history to defend like Mutombo are Bill Russell and Mutombo.
Yeah, but he's in that. I never compared him to Bill Russell. I have not compared anyone to Bill Russell. He's his own version. I'm just saying he does defend like Mutombo. That's what people have been saying about him. And Luol Deng's mentoring him. I trust the Phoenix Suns here. I'm guessing you don't. Their new ownership has made bad decision after bad decision, and
I trust Luol Deng to train him well.
But the Phoenix Suns, ever since the new owner bought the team, they traded Chris Paul, they traded for Kevin Durant, they traded away Kevin Durant. It's just been a mess. Because that new owner came in like 2023, right after the Phoenix Suns had the best record in the NBA, and he just completely ran that team into the ground.
And that shows if the people running don't know what they're doing, then they're going to be great.
I'm giving it an A, but I feel like Joey's giving it a C or C minus. But Malak is the pick at 9.
I'll give it a C plus.
All right.
I like the player for who he is, but for taking him this early in this position.
Because the Devin Booker's going to be your point guard. Jalen Green from the Rockets becomes your shooting guard. Bradley Beal moves to the 3 at small forward where Durant played. Dylan Brooks, who played the 3 in Houston, is your power forward, but you still need a center to round out that starting 5. And you are just throwing Malak into the fire. No depth behind him. He was a rotational player on Duke. You are throwing him in the fire and saying, you're going to be our number 1 center day 1, young man. So 8.3 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, and you're throwing that guy into the fire. You're going to be our day 1 starter.
Yeah, I
this
5, 6 rebounds.
Yeah.
No, maybe half a block.
This could be a disaster. It could be a great pick, but it could also be a disaster. This is probably the most volatile pick in the top 10. I think we agree on that. Even though you're closer to the floor than I think he could reach the ceiling. You think he's probably closer to his floor than his ceiling. But regardless, I think we agree this is the most volatile selection in the top 10.
I agree, yes.
All right. Portland's pick is in. Got how many pick? Yeah, we got all the everybody in the top 10. We've got the write-ups. So all the top 10 write-ups are done. So already done. Let's find out what Portland did at 11 because the picks in. We have a trade. Apparently, it's going to be Cedric Coward of Washington State, and the pick is going to be traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. Is it going to be traded to the Memphis? They are trading him to the Memphis Grizzlies. So we have our first trade. The Memphis Grizzlies, who traded Desmond Bane to Orlando, are getting Cedric Coward at 11. So Cedric Coward, the Washington State shooting guard who only played 6 games, is going to go 11th overall.
Well, that really doesn't surprise me as much because we heard trade rumors about Cavs, the Nets, the Sixers.
Memphis got 4 first-round picks. I'm just curious what Portland got back in that trade because I'm guessing it's number 16 and some other combination of picks. That's what I would like to know.
And the first trade, after hearing all those trade rumors, comes at 11 with 2 teams that weren't even discussed before the draft.
That's because that's how the draft works. All the rumors are clickbait to get you engaged in the conversation. You think all these teams, this draft is more top heavy than the 2025 NFL draft. But Wes was saying, we did a poll question. What drafts the strongest? What drafts the weakest? NBA won outright for strongest, but you could make an argument for MLS, NHL, or NFL at number 2. You really could.
Not why I'm surprised that because the circumstances behind it.
Yeah.
Like, what team's going to keep 5 rookies? What, we get the,
And first rookie drafted since Klay Thompson. First Washington State first-round pick since Klay Thompson. Exact.
Yeah, it's just the circumstances in this draft in which you would expect.
I think I'm going to have to hold off on grading the pick. I'd like to see what Portland got back from Washington State. That is what I'm curious.
Yeah, before you can grade a trade,
16th pick is heading to Portland, but we do not know what else is heading to Portland. So it is the 16th pick. And what else? 16th pick. And is this future considerations in Spanish? Because they're not trading 11 for 16 straight up.
No, and for people who don't understand, future considerations.
Future draft capital, sources said. So that means it's probably a second round pick either tomorrow or it's a second round pick in a future draft year. That's
and for the people out there.
And it could be a second round pick, it could be a 2026 pick, it could be a 2031 pick. It's vague. Future considerations, it's a vague. Okay.
You know what?
No. Shot Coverage got me a trade. Shot Coverage is reporting the Grizzlies are sending 16, a 2028 first-round pick via Orlando, and 2 seconds to Portland. So that's the trade. That's a good trade for both teams. That's a great return for Portland. And Memphis gave up just enough to get their guy without giving up too much. So that's...
I do want to explain, though, what future considerations is.
Yes.
That's basically saying this trade is not completed yet, but we agree in principle on the basic outline, and we'll take care of the little details later. So if there's an extra pick or extra money, we'll agree on that later. But the meat and potatoes, the swap of the picks and everything, that's done. Now all you have to do is put future considerations on the contract, agree to that, and then it'll go through, and then they can agree on the future considerations later. It's meat and potatoes are done, little details later.
Yep.
It's usually something that's under time.
But what we're hearing is it's a 2028 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. I think that's a great deal. And the 28 first-round pick's not the Grizzlies pick, it's the pick Orlando owns. So I think that's a win-win deal for both teams. And usually these trades are win-lose deals. This feels like a rare win-win deal, Joey. It just...
The thing with the Orlando is
Orlando gave up 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. So one of those, their 2028 first-round pick, is going to Portland. That's probably going to be in the back half of round 1, but it could be an early round pick. We'll see.
Because Orlando is an interesting team.
And 2028 is kind of a weaker draft. I've done a little bit of studying on 26 and 27. 26 has some talent at the top, but it's not as strong as this draft. But it has AJ Dibansa, Darrington Evans, a Kansas shooting guard, and it's also got Cameron Boozer. So 2026 has a good top 3, and I think Jackson Richardson, the youngest son of Jason Richardson, is in the 27 NBA draft. Tyron Stokes is in 27. So 26 and 27 look decent, really good at the top. 28, I would say, is the weakest of the drafts in the back end of this decade. So, and you're getting Orlando's pick. So maybe it feels like both teams got what they wanted.
Well, you're looking at, when it comes to Orlando, is one of the most physical teams in the league.
Yeah.
Not one of the most talented. They will beat you up in a game. And they will win the game.
They will F you up and they will not apologize for it. They'll say it's just business. That's
exactly. That's why nobody ever wants to play them in the playoffs, because it's not that they can't beat Orlando. It's that Orlando is going to beat you up. So when you get to the next round, you're right for the pickles. So it's like, what can Orlando? Is Orlando going to make the playoffs or aren't they? Because they could complete they could win.
Well, right now, the only two positions where the Magic had under 10 points a game in the starting five this past season were shooting guard and center. The three core players that have been the staple are Franz Wagner at small forward, Paolo Banchero at power forward, and Jalen Suggs at point guard. Those have been the three staples the last 2 years with the Magic. And you could say the last 3 years it's been Wagner and Banchero.
I believe it was Franz Mesmer that is the godfather of hypnotism. So maybe Franz has a little something going there, getting in the other team's head.
Yeah, because they drafted both Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner in the top 10 of the 21 draft. And then they got Banchero with the number 1 pick in the lottery, and they hit on all three of those picks. So those three are the stars. I know they have Nikola Vucevic. I know they have Wendell Carter or Vucevic at center, and I know they have I know they had a shooting guard last year, but they traded for Desmond Bane to solve the shooting guard void. So really, it is. Yes, so basically I'm copying and pasting because I had notes on the starting fives and other stuff, so I'm taking the notes from that and copying them to the Portland Trailblazers because Portland's now picking at 16, so 16 is the first pick in the
I'm going to ask you, though.
And the Bulls are about to make their pick.
Has Orlando really had a good, solid shooting guard that scores 15 points a game since Dennis Scott was mixing between shooting
They had Tracy McGrady in the 2000s, Joey. He was a shooting guard for a few years.
He played mostly small forward. I guess so did Dennis Scott. So it was.
They were both shooting guards / small forwards. Okay.
Yeah. It's besides the.
Noah Essang plays video games and watches anime in his free time. Manga, anime. So the guy from France, he watches anime in his free time. That's what they're saying on ESPN.
I wouldn't expect that from a guy from France. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Guys from France watches.
Anime is popular in Japan. It's not really popular in France, but I'm not judging him. If that's his hobby, that's cool.
Absolutely not. Different things.
It's just different. It's good, but it's different. You're not used to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm not. It's like even in the U.S., it's like they Americanized Japanese anime. It's like, but France, I've never heard of them even.
Yeah, me and Brad have been talking about that Lazarus show. It's from the creator of Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop was like the go-to anime show in the 90s. And
I still quote that shit. Aha, aha.
So it sounds like Shams is reporting something, but I'm guessing he's giving the specifics of the trade. Yeah, I mocked Cedric Coward in the second round because of the injury, and he only played 6 games. But I saw him as high as the Pacers, and I think the Guardians just beat the Pacers, Joey. My scoreboard, it's 4-4 in the 10th, and Cleveland Guardians, 1 run, the home 1 run to beat Toronto in the 10th inning, and I've got the Glance LED news ticker on the live stream. So everybody in Canada watching this, That's for knocking out Dallas, Edmonton. Toronto has to suffer because of Edmonton. The Guardians beat Toronto. And the Pelicans have moved up to 13 now. So, Pelicans now have the 13th pick, I guess.
Okay, that's tomorrow. Yeah, it's already. Yeah, it's already processed after.
Probably give this a C- due to the injury history. Coward's a good player. He only played 6 games. That's a very low sample size, but that was the big thing with Kyrie Irving coming out of Duke, and he found a way to get it done. He found a way to succeed.
4, 1 round. So, Williams.
I'm not going to give this a D plus despite the injury because he's good on tape. He can defend the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4. He can defend 4 of the 5. So basically, the only position that can beat him in the low post is the center. He will actually defend effectively against power forwards despite being 6'5", 214. So, I mean, despite the medicals, I think it's a good pick. So, Noah Essang went number 12 of the Bulls, international player. I figured the Bulls would get a power forward for depth. I just wasn't sure what direction. And I had Noah Essang going 15th overall to the Thunder, and the Bulls take him at 12. I don't know what grade I'll give that yet. I'll probably give that a B plus or a B. I don't think it's. I think it's a better pick than some of the picks because Coward was a reach. I had Coward. Most had Coward going in the back end of round 1 due to the medicals. Some had him going in round 2. Malak was a reach. Murray Boyles was a reach. Every pick after Igor Demon feels like it's been somewhat of a reach. Even Jeremiah Fears. After Trey Johnson, you could argue every pick in the 7 to 12 range was a slight reach, but Demon was probably the best value in terms of what was there. I'm surprised he went as early as he did, but probably the best overall value. That's what makes this draft interesting. So getting the Bulls write-up done right now. I'm trying to move as fast as I can because I know there's another trade, and that trade is going to screw things up. Noah Essang had 11.3 points per game. Derek Queen. So the Pelicans moved up for Derek Queen, the guy you like, Joey. So Derek Queen goes to New Orleans. The Pelicans move up for him. We are both high on Derek Queen. I think this is a great move by the Pelicans. The question is, what did they give up and why would Atlanta trade this pick away? Because Atlanta needs Atlanta got Porzingis. And I like Porzingis, but Porzingis has had some durability issues wherever he's gone. I would have just taken Queen instead, stuck with the pick. But I think Atlanta is overconfident in Porzingis, and I think that'll come back to bite them. But they also have Omiri Okuda, the 2020 first round pick, who could play power forward and center. I guess they're happy with both those guys. They don't want to bring a young person in. So, hey.
Well, not only that, but Porzingis is not the confidence of Porzingis is you believe you can keep him on the court because.
And we've seen Atlanta burn good centers, overplay them, wear them out, burn them, fatigue them. Yeah, historically speaking.
Yeah, because I'll just sit here and tell you, Porzingis is a difference maker. I said from countless that the loss of the Cavs 2 years ago, if Allen would have played because they didn't have Porzingis. But at the same time, Porzingis would have played, they would have buried the Cavs.
Well, the Cavs are going to have that advantage next season with Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton tearing their Achilles. Right now, I would say the Pistons, the Magic, and the Knicks are legitimately the only threats to the Cavs next year if Halliburton and Tatum can't recover from their torn ACLs.
Well, the torn Achilles tendons, that's a teeter in.
Yeah, so I would say right now the Knicks, the Thunder, not the Knicks, the Pistons, and the Magic are probably the three biggest threats to the Cavs in the East right now, Joey. With the Celtics. They might, or they might get lucky due to the refs. You never know how these things go. I could see the Knicks winning the East due to the refs, but then they get assimilated by whoever comes out of the West. And it's uglier than 1999 when they won one game against the Spurs. They just get dog walked out of the NBA Finals.
I've been
swept.
A lot of great about Detroit. And as far as that finals against the Spurs, I'm rooting for the Knicks. Because Patrick Ewing went down with an injury. Everything was going back. They were spending 6'7" Larry Johnson at center. And Johnson had a knee injury. He was very good. So I was rooting for that next team because that next team was obliterated by injury. And they still willed their way to the finals. So you got to root for the underdogs in that situation. You get obliterated. Everything's going downhill. You've got to root for those guys. And Ewing ended up, he never played another game for the Knicks. I think he ended up playing for the Spurs.
The Hawks get the number 23 pick from the Pelicans, which is the Memphis Grizzlies pick, and an unprotected 2026 first-round pick, the most favorable of either the Pelicans or the Bucks. So the higher of the two picks that the Pelicans have, yes, unprotected. So New Orleans has two picks in 2026, their own first-round pick and the Bucks' first-round pick, assuming the Bucks regress. So the Hawks are going to get the higher of those two picks. Now, that's a good return. That's a good return for Derek Queen. That's a really good return. That's a better return than what Portland gave up at 11. I'll say that much.
When I heard the other stuff, I didn't really care about. When I heard unprotected, I'm like, oh, yeah. Because the protected clause is a big thing in the NBA now. And when I hear unprotected, I'm like, okay, you must really believe Patrick Queen's going to be a star to leave this pick up. Because if he bottoms out...
Well, they got Yenya Okongwu, who showed he could play center in relief of Clint Capella last year, but you also have Porzingis. So I think the Hawks are going to rely on those two veteran centers rather than bringing a new guy in and teaching him the system, even though I think Queen could have been that difference maker had Atlanta kept this pick.
Yeah, it's just the unprotected thing really got me, though.
Yeah.
How high do you have to think of Patrick Queen to say unprotected in an era where every draft pick has a protected status?
And that's the thing. If the Bucks and the Pacers make the playoffs, that pick's going to be in the back end of round 1 next year.
Yes. So, I mean, hopefully Queen comes up with the player that you are.
Because if Queen becomes the player I think he's capable of becoming, the Pelicans could easily get back to the playoffs because that was the only position where they had under 10 points a game. Jordan Poole's replacing CJ McCollum at shooting guard. They still have they still have some core players. And Carter Bryant is a Spur. I heard that the Spurs were looking at 3 guys. Noah Essingle, the guy the Bulls took, Carter Bryant, and the power forward from St. Mary's. We both like the power forward from St. Mary's, but the Spurs like Bryant more. So, and Bryant's a great 3-point shooter and a great defender. He was just a bench player at Arizona. He really didn't start a lot, but traits-wise, he checks out. So,
I believe in Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich has done a great job.
In most cases, this pick would get a C grade, but I'll give it a B because I trust the Spurs. Not going to give this an A, but I'll give it a B because I trust the Spurs. And that's saying a lot about the Spurs as an organization. That when they reach on a player, we're giving them a B instead of a C grade. That says something about their organization. It does.
Yeah, Greg Popovich took chances on players and created a dynasty out of it. And he kept that thing going for 20 years. Maybe not the dynasty part, but he kept them competitive and ready to go for 20 years. And then he started reloading before his health issues caught up to him, and he transitioned to a front office role. So who's to say he can't do it again? Who's to say he can't do it again? He's already got a centerpiece. Now all he needs is pieces around him. Who's to say he's not going to make another dynasty out of it? He might have just got your bloody man Ginobili right there. Great shooter. Maybe he can create off the dribble.
They have, and they can play him off the bench. If they move Devin Vassell to small forward, because Devin Vassell can defend all 5 positions. He's a shooting guard. If you play Dylan Harper at shooting guard and you keep De'Aaron Fox at point guard and you move Devin Vassell from shooting guard to small forward, you can play Carter Bryant off the bench as a backup to both Jeremy Sochan and Devin Vassell.
When it comes to small guards, but there are very few times in NBA history where small guards actually work. I think the best small guard came in NBA history was Joe Dumars.
But that's the thing. The Spurs have 2 small forwards. The Spurs have 2 shooting guards that can average 20 points a game in Devin Vassell and Devin Harper. Devin Harper can play point guard or shooting guard, but you have a point guard that can average 20 points a game in Fox, and you have a shooting guard that can average 20 points a game in Vassell. And Wemby can average 20 points a game too. So do you utilize Dylan Harper as a starter and move Vassell to small forward over Harrison Barnes, or do you keep your starting 5 as it is and make all the rookies earn their minutes? That's the discussion the Spurs are going to have. Bryant's going to have to earn his minutes, but what's going to happen with Harper? Is he going to have to earn his minutes too, or is he going to get thrown into fire because he went as high as he did in the draft? That is what I'm curious to see this with the Spurs, Joey. Just saying.
Yeah, at the very least, you may just giving yourself the best shooting or small forward bench combination in the NBA. And that's at the worst. At best,
because they got Castle in last year's draft, and he was good enough to play in the rookies versus sophomores All-Star game, and he averaged over 10 points a game off the bench and started when other rookies were injured. So Castle looks good. Harper looks good. This Spurs team, I think the Mavericks and the Spurs are both going to be in the playoffs next year. Maybe they just get the play-in tournament, but I could see both teams in the playoffs if they're healthy next year.
I forget which player said it. they thought that the future of the NBA is in depth, and the depth of the roster, even though you get to the NBA finals, it obviously shrinks down to like 7 players.
Yeah, so this pick, the Pacers pick went to the Hawks. The Hawks moved back 10 spots, and they got the Pacers pick. So ESPN's got this commercial. It's got the Stars and Avalanche in it. It's got all these sports fans. It's got Ovechkin, Dickie V, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Stuart Scott, Dallas Stars. It's a very cool montage of highlights. It combines the old ESPN with the new ESPN, but yeah, I mean, there's still a few people from the old regime at ESPN that work for ESPN. You've got Chris Berman, Mel Kiper Jr., Scott Van Pelt, Linda Cohn, and that's it. Stan Verrett doesn't work there. Neil Everett doesn't work there anymore. Rich Eisen's coming back in a Disney Plus type capacity, but that's just for the Rich Eisen show. He's not going to be on the ESPN television network. But yeah, you really have those four. That's the Fantastic Four from the original Bristol era. Berman, Mel Kiper Jr., Linda Cohn, and Scott Van Pelt, and that's it. And the Oklahoma City Thunder select Thomas Sorber, who's not a good defender or a rebounder, but the Thunder, the NBA champions, take him at 15. I think Sorber struggled against Ryan Kalkbrenner on tape. And everyone's saying he's the top center in the draft. Queen's better than Sorber, from what I saw, Joey. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's at least the impression I came away with. Okay, so Thomas Sorber, and the Thunder have Chet Holmgren. Sorber can play power forward or center. The Thunder are drafting him as a center. And the thing with Sorber is he has the body of a power forward, but he lacks the athleticism to play the four. That's really what makes this. But it's Sam Presti. It's the Thunder. They obviously did their homework on this guy. So we'll see what happens. And if Chet Holmgren wants to stay at power forward, you have to draft another big. It's really that simple. Wait, why does this say... So Portland Trailblazers are on the clock here. All right. Good. So we can start. And we'll take this Atlanta Hawks starting 5 column, and we will move that over to pick 23, where 23 is the Pacers pick. So yeah. And now we're just going to get rid of this and take the Derek Queen write-up and just copy and paste that to Memphis here, because Derek Queen... I'm just trying to figure out the fastest way to... We don't want to rush this, but at the same time, we do want to get the write-ups. All right, I had Derek Queen going 10th. And he fell to 13. I do like the risk here by New Orleans because they gave up 23 and they gave up a first next year. But I think he's a clear-cut upgrade over Yevs Missy. And I like Yevs Missy at Baylor, but Queen impressed me more. I think that says more about Queen, though. I will give the Pelicans an A grade. I'm not going to give them an A plus because I think giving up 2 firsts is a lot, but I love Queen. I gave the Chiefs an A minus for what they had to give up to get Mahomes, but I loved Mahomes coming out of college. I feel the same way, and the moral of the story is to just be confident in yourself and be confident in your draft evaluations. So if I'm wrong, it's because I'm too confident in my draft evaluation on Queen. He can shoot from everywhere, short range, medium range, long range. He does have trouble defending, though, and he had the slowest time in a drill at the NBA Combine since 22. And everyone said he was going to fall to the 20s, Joey. Everybody said Derek Queen was going to fall to the 20s because he had the slowest time. Shooting is more important than athleticism in today's NBA. Athleticism is important, but this is a shooter's league. This NBA, the 80s NBA was a physicality league. The 2020s NBA is a shooter's league. It is, okay? That's the reality. Asa Newell's still on the board. I have him in. I think he's my highest graded player available. So yeah. Go B minus for the Bulls. Yeah, because I'm just getting the Carter Bryant write-up and just copying it and pasting it. So number 14 is up. And then Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the best player on my board this late in the draft is probably Asa Newell. I did not think Asa Newell will drop like he did. Oklahoma City, they took the Georgetown center. Yang Hansen from China. I do like Yang Hansen. I had Yang Hansen going to the Boston Celtics at pick 32, but Yang Hansen does everything well on tape. He defends well. He shoots the three-pointer well. He's 7'1", 253, 14.7 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game. He can shoot from short range, medium range, long range. He has a lot of bounce passes. Like he passes the ball like some of the guys in the Harlem Globetrotters. He does chest pounces, bounce passes. He passes like a point guard. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in China. 10-inch hand length. Tied for largest at the NBA Combine. And really, he defends all 5 positions. He made 67.7% of his... I was big on Hansen Yang. I had Hansen Yang going to the Celtics at 32, but Hansen Yang is the player the Portland Trailblazers are getting at 16. So they're going to have Donovan Klinglin, and they're going to have Hansen Yang. That's apparently their contingency plan when DeAndre Ayton becomes a free agent. So Ayton's probably going to get traded this summer because you got Klinglin from Connecticut's national title team, and now you add Hansen Yang, another big at center. So really, what is Portland doing here with these 3 centers? I think Ayton's on his way out if he's still on the roster. Because you don't make this type of pick, but hey, I do like the pick. I'm not going to say anything bad about the pick. Hansen Yang is an interesting pick here. But yeah, I'm looking for my write-up on Robert Thomas. Because Thomas Sorber, the Georgetown center, I had Thomas Sorber going to Oklahoma City at pick 24. So, right pick, wrong number. But thought process, so I do like the fact that the Thunder took this guy. I had Sorber going to the Thunder, so probably am going to give that an 8. Yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein's in a contract year, so the thought process by Sam Presti is let's groom Sorber behind. And we see another center, Joan Behringer, who averaged under 10 points a game, goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves at 17. So a center from China and a center from France kick off the back end of the first round. I'm not sure if Joey hung up or if he got tired and he passed out, but yeah.
I'm still here. I'm just
I know you're about ready to call a night, but I'm just Hanson Yang and Joan Behringer, two international players coming off the board at 16 and 17.
Behringer
I like Hanson Yang more than Behringer, as hard as that is to say.
Well, Yang reminds me of the typical Chinese center, but he doesn't have the bulk I would like.
Yeah, but he has the traits.
He has the traits, yes, but he doesn't have the bulk. So, well, Behringer has the traits and everything I like from European players.
But so I think DeAndre Ayton's out in Portland. Ayton's in the final year of his contract. Portland drafted Donovan Cleveland out of Connecticut in last year's draft, and now they just added Hanson Yang to go with that. So
yeah, I'm not going to say it's a bad pick.
I like DeAndre Ayton, but I think his time in Portland is done. The fact that they drafted two different centers back-to-back like that says something.
It does. And I'm not going to say it's a bad pick. I like the player. When it comes to those two players, it could have been either or.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have complained about either one. So, I'm not going to get upset about the situation.
Yeah, and I gave the Thunder an A grade for Sorber because Hartenstein played center and Holmgren played power forward, and Hartenstein's in the final year of his contract, and I think they're going to ease Sorber in behind Hartenstein, have him learn how to hit three-pointers, have him learn fundamentals this year, and then next year he'll be the starting center on this Thunder team.
Now, I do, however, have to go now because it's after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's after 10 o'clock, and yeah, I haven't even drank any coffee yet. I'll probably drink some coffee after the draft, but I understand. I enjoyed having you on, and I appreciate you calling on. I appreciate what you did, Joey. Enjoy your evening. We will talk NBA sometime later. That was Joseph Potter. He'll be back on Saturday, guys, when we cover day 2 of the NHL draft with Ron and William and myself. Excellent pick for the Spurs of getting Dylan Harper, Tracy Porter, 60 viewers on the stream. Thank you, guys. So, okay. I am figuring out what player I want to put on the cover of the second Draft Utopia webpage. I think it's got to be Jaku Sionis. Jaku Sionis is still on the board. Like, how in the hell has he dropped as far as he has? Kasparis Jaku Sionis is still on the board at 19. I'm going to call William and get to the bottom of this.
Your call has...
I think it's got to be Jaku Sionis. That's probably the player we're going to go with. How is Kasparis Jaku Sionis dropped all the way to 18? I had him at 5. He's still on the board. Like, this is just... Yeah, because we had Jaku Sionis in the top 5. I would think... Yeah, and I would think Jaku Sionis comes off the board here. And if the Wizards and... Well, they got Trey Johnson, but Trey Johnson and Jaku Sionis, that is just a pipe dream for the Washington Wizards. And they could start both of those guys next year if they went that route. I mean, the Wizards might be the winner of this draft if they get Jaku Sionis. That would be nuts, though. But yeah. Kasparis Jakusionis, it does sound like Walter Clayton Jr. is going to go. Walter Clayton Jr. is going to get picked ahead. It sounds like Walter Clayton Jr., the former Florida Gators point guard who led the Gators to a national title, is going to go ahead of Jakusionis. I like Walter Clayton. I like Jakusionis a little bit more, but Clayton's got that winning pedigree. He's a good player. I wouldn't be upset with either player. How is this guy dropping? Like, what's going on? And Walter Clayton, it sounds like the Jazz might take Walter Clayton here. And if that's the case, Ace Bailey will probably be drafted as a shooting guard, and Walter Clayton would be drafted as a point guard, potentially. It just depends. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, we found a picture of Kasparis Jakusionis. We are definitely going to use that for the back end of the first round. Yeah, assuming he gets picked. Yeah, we've got the first half done, guys. But what I don't have done is the back end of round 1. And I'm trying to get... Is it going to be Walter Clayton to the Jazz? Are the Jazz trading up to get Walter Clayton out of Florida? Or... That's what I'm trying to figure out, right? It is Walter Clayton. And the Walter Clayton Jr. just gets picked. And Walter Clayton led Florida to a national title. So it is possible that, it's possible that Ace Bailey ends up as. I think I am going to change Ace Bailey to a shooting guard, his natural position. And I'm going to change. Yeah, I'm going to change Ace Bailey back to shooting guard and probably put Walter Clayton Jr. as a. Because the Portland Trailblazers at 16, they took Hanson Yang, Behringer from the Kanado Eagles. Kendall Eagles. So he's putting on the Wizards hat, but then he's going to go to Utah. So the Utah Jazz are going to get the 18th pick. What are the Wizards getting back? Yeah, so I'll move Bailey back to his natural position. Because Bailey could play with Walter Clayton. That tells me Ainge is trying to get 2 starting guards. Because I like Keontae George. I don't think of him as a big-time star. I think of Ace Bailey as a guy who can be a big-time star. Yeah, and I'm going to figure out what the hell the Utah Jazz gave up. So the Utah Jazz get pick 21. So the Wizards get pick 21 and multiple second round picks. So pick 21 goes to the Wizards. And right now it looks like the Heat or the Wizards. The Brooklyn Nets just took a point guard. They took Igor Demon, so I don't see them doubling up. Well, Igor Demon can play point guard or shooting guard, so I'm going to have Demon to Brooklyn as a shooting guard. And Nolan Traore, who I actually mocked to Brooklyn, is going to go to Brooklyn, and that's a great pickup. And Nolan Traore is going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. I actually mocked Nolan Traore to Brooklyn at pick 19. So, all right. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the picks I correctly predicted. So that's an A+ grade when we get to it. I'm not going to be doing any grading until we get the exact numbers. The exact numbers. And because I want to see, I'll refresh the web page. You guys can see the live picks as they come in through the news ticker. But if I don't think Jaku Sionis is going to fall out of the first round. We had the guy in our top 5, number 1 point guard in the entire draft. He's going to fall. I don't think he's going to fall out of the first round entirely. Heel, turn, and hooks. Pro Wrestling has just followed us. Thank you very much. The Charlotte Hornets are trading Mark Williams for the 29th pick tonight. So Mark Williams So Ben Saraf, another international point guard. Every player in this back end of the first round is an international player. And Charlotte Hornets are getting the Suns' first round pick. Ben Surratt. Is it Ben Surratt? No, it's Jaku Sionis. So Kasparis Jaku Sionis is a Heat. So Kasparis Jaku Sionis is the pick. That was a steal at 20. So we're going to go in and we're going to copy this code to the news ticker for round 1 and the news ticker for round 2. All right, so I believe we can go to the back end of round one now. Appreciate you guys being patient with me. I just wanted to wait till Jaku Sionis was picked before I got the grades started for the back end of the first round. And Portland took Hanson Yang, so I like the Hanson Yang pick a lot. I'm surprised he went as early as he did, but I think DeAndre Ayton's on his way out of Portland. I mean, you take Klingon and you take this guy in back-to-back drafts. That tells me Portland's ready to move on. I'm not going to give this an A+. I do like the pick, though. I'm going to give Portland a B+ for Hanson Yang. I do like the pick. Hanson Yang's 7'1", 253. He does everything well. I was debating between an A+ and a B. That does average out to an A-. 7'1", 253. I like the Hanson Yang pick. I had him going to the Celtics. So I think this was a really smart decision by Portland. So, yeah. And Hanson Yang, I really am a big fan of Hanson Yang. I am trying to move as fast as possible to catch up on these picks. Let me look it up. Minnesota, they get the dry cornbread. Yep, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who is 19? The Wizards. And I believe, did they trade this pick? They traded this pick to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn moved up for I think Brooklyn moved up. Let me double check. Let me double check here what's going on. And who the hell? Will Riley. And Drake Powell is going to go number 22. So the Brooklyn Nets take Drake Powell. Traits do check out with Drake Powell. Very highly recruited player. Yeah, and Nolan Traore did go 19th. Utah Jazz traded up to 18. I am going to give this an A grade. Just getting the write-up done. And Nolan Traore went 19th, so we'll copy and paste that pick in a second, but Nike Clifford's still on the board. There's some talent still on the board. I don't think a senior's been picked yet, though. Actually, Walter Clayton was the first senior off the board, and I actually liked his tape. I thought Walter Clayton did a very good job defending for what, and they only show, that's the thing with point guards. They'll only show the scoring, the passing, steals. They don't really show the matchup zone defense. He can defend effectively. It's just his athleticism could be a little bit better. That's really the only knock on Clayton, or the only area of improvement you'd like to see from him. Probably going to give Traore So we're starting to get some of these write-ups done. Walter Clayton, Nolan Traore. Yep. So, and this is going to be an A+. Jaku Sionis. Asa Newell. I had Asa Newell in my top 10. That is a great pick. I think he's more of a natural power forward, whereas Asa Newell was the only player in my top 10 still on the board. That is a fantastic pick by Atlanta. So we're on pick 21. Wizards got Will Riley. Drake Powell went to Atlanta. Asa Newell, the power forward from Georgia, went to Atlanta. So and the Sacramento Kings have moved up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti going to collect more? Is Sam Presti going to stockpile those first round picks like Ash Ketchum and Pokemon? Had to make a Pokemon reference. I'm sorry, folks. I had to go there because Sam Presti has that many draft picks, so many first round draft picks. He has 11 first round picks from now until 2030. He is just collecting them draft picks like they are badges in Pallet Town or Johto. Hey, Presti's earned it. I mean, he won the NBA Finals. He's the architect of this year's NBA Finals team. And when you think of architect GMs in sports, I think of Jim Nill and the Dallas Stars and Sam Presti of the Thunder. Presti has a championship on his resume. Nill has a championship as an assistant GM, but he hasn't won a championship as a GM with his team yet. I'm hoping that changes soon, but I'm not expecting it to. And Neat Clifford. So Sacramento Kings are moving up for Neat Clifford out of Colorado State. That is a great pickup by I'm going to put him as a small forward for now, but I want to see what the Kings have done. And I want to see some other Will Riley. Stop playing solitaire. Yeah, that's the grade we're giving them. Stop playing solitaire. So we have a try cornbread grade and we have a stop playing solitaire grade. Just very random. But yeah. Drake Powell. I'm almost caught up on some of these picks. And Jace Richardson, Michigan State shooting guard. Jace Richardson is the latest member of the Orlando Magic. And I mocked Jace Richardson to the Magic at 17. They end up picking him at 25. I'm giving Brooklyn a C- grade because even though I would have gone a different route, there's a reason Brian Lewis mocked him in the first round. And I know Emmanuel is very high on North Carolina players. Okay, so just saying, that's a player Yeah, I love the Asanewal pick. So, yeah. And then Jace Richardson went 25th. Ben Saraf, the Israel point guard, Ben Saraf goes to Brooklyn at 26. Let me look for a Ben Saraf. I mocked Ben Saraf in round 2, but all Brooklyn's done is draft guards. They have not drafted any. They have not drafted anybody from. So ratio farm Ulm. And then the Nets have one more pick. And it's probably going to be Liam McNeely. Liam McNeely's still on the board. I think he was in my lottery. And there's the guy from St. There have been some guys who've fallen. But I kind of want to see where we mocked. Yeah, because Golden State lost. What did the Thunder get? That's the other thing I'd like to know. What did the Oklahoma City Thunder get? What did Sam Presti get from Sacramento? What are the details? Kings are trading a top 16 protected 2027 first round pick. Okay. And Danny Wolf, the Michigan Wolverines center, who I mocked 13th overall, goes to Brooklyn at 27. That's a great value pick for the Brooklyn Nets. Let's look at the Kings contracts here. Sacramento Kings. Danny Wolf is a good pick for Brooklyn at 27. I'm checking something. I'm looking at the contracts here to see what is. And do we have some more stuff in the chat room? Oh no. Are Trey Johnson and Will Riley good? I love Trey Johnson. Go Caps 1, 2, 3, 4. Trey Johnson is an amazing shooting guard. Will Riley, I had a second round grade on. And the thing is, the Wizards, they need a facilitator. They have not had a facilitator since John Wall left the team. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like Will Ferrell and Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when it comes to this rant. Yeah, and we'll have NHL draft coverage tomorrow. So Asa Newell, Malik Monk's contract expires in 2028. Levine expires in 2027, but DeRozan also expires in 2027. So I believe he will play so yes. Celtics pick is in. Danny Wolf going to the Brooklyn Nets. Excuse me. Hugo Gonzalez, the shooting guard, the Real Madrid guard. I'm guessing he's going to be a point guard or a shooting guard for depth. But Hugo Gonzalez was teammates with Igor Demin on the Real Madrid team in Spain. So same Real Madrid team Luka Doncic played for. So just throwing that out there. I'm not comparing them, not comparing either guard to Doncic, just that all three of those guys played for Real Madrid. That's all we're saying. Okay. And I'm just getting the Jace Richardson write-up ready to go. And Hugo Gonzalez, we are going to list Hugo Gonzalez as a point guard. Yeah, so that's going to be an A+. And yeah, Hugo Gonzalez was the shooting guard in Real Madrid. So only 2 more picks left in the first round. I do have 25 done. It's Suraf, not Surat. All right, so Suraf. But yeah, Asa Newell going to the Hawks. I swear I got the grade up for okay, we didn't type it, but Nike Clifford. I had Nike Clifford was one of my top 2 seniors in this draft. I think a lot of teams drafted well this year. Nike Clifford was a player I was very high on. And I said we would see a bunch of seniors go in the back end of round 1. I'm not surprised by what's happened as far as the turnover goes. Ben Suraf currently working on pick 26. And what does Charlotte do? They neglect center. They trade their center away. Or is Donovan Klinglin on Charlotte? Let's look. No, Klinglin's on Charlotte. Klinglin's on Portland. So, Charlotte needs a center. I like Liam McNeely. I do. I like that pick. I mean, I had Liam McNeely going number 12 to the Chicago Bulls, and you get him at 29. Very good value by the Charlotte Hornets. Probably going to be a bench player in Charlotte, but I just love the value this late in the draft. And yeah, so phone's at 22%. How many people are on or no? Trey Johnson's good, go Caps. Trey Johnson's good. Will Riley, I do not think he's going to be very good. But yeah, Montverde Academy had 4 players drafted in the first round. Cooper Flagg, Derek Queen, Liam McNeely, and Asa Newell were all on the Montverde Academy team. That is insane that 4 players from one high school could get picked in the first round. And the Clippers can draft the final Montverde Academy player from that team with the 30th pick. I'm kidding. I don't think they're gonna go that route. I was making it funny. I had Danny Wolf in my top 13. There is one player in my top 15 still on the board and it's a player on St. Joseph's. So is that player going to fall to round 2 tomorrow? That's the big question. And I'd say right now that there's a very good possibility. But Danny Wolf was a big reason Yale knocked out Auburn a few years ago. And then he helped Michigan win the Big Ten title. So yeah, Danny Wolf at this late in the first round is very good value. Yeah. So the Celtics get a dry cornbread grade. So we only had 2 dry cornbread grades. Behringer, and even though those players were both reaches in terms of value, neither player is a bad pick. Like there's not a pick that I'd say warrants an F grade. So And let's load this. Got all the way up to 28. Really did get a lot done. And Yannick Conan Niederhauser. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to fit his entire name on the so yeah, and that's the thing right now. NBA draft's just gone very smoothly. But there's one player in my top 15 that fell to the second round. One. And is the player on St. Joseph's. So we're probably going with St. Joseph's. But Cody Niederhauser was a guy that was building up some traction. Mm-hmm. Derek Queen. I'm still a little bit behind, but I'm not very far. I should be done with this by midnight. I should be done with everything by midnight, okay? Like, we're literally on the very last two picks. And we know the Penn State center. Yep. And then the Clippers get a center for depth. And I've got some of the write-ups updated here. I really like the Jace Richardson pick. Saraf was a slight reach for me in terms of value, but I love the Danny Wolf pick. I gave the Celtics a B+ for Hugo Gonzalez. I love the Liam McNeely pick. I thought they reached on Con Newpel, but I thought they did well with that pick. And Yannick Conan Niederhauser to the Clippers at 30. So I thought about giving the Celtics a dry cornbread grade, but I couldn't go through with it because Hugo Gonzalez does have the traits. Yeah, he averaged under 10 points a game, but heading into his +1 year, he had the traits. He checked the boxes on tape. So I really couldn't overlook that. And he really doesn't do much outside of shooting and defending, so I'm going to give the Clippers just a D grade. I'm going to give them a D. That's all I'm going to do. I think this is a big reach by the Clippers here. I can't fit dry cornbread into the Clippers caption. So we're just going to go D, and we're going to end the draft on that note. The Clippers, they're going to get a D. No F grades. I had one dry cornbread grade with Minnesota. So Minnesota and the Clippers are the losers of this first round. Brooklyn got good depth at guard, but I really feel like they could have added some more forwards for depth. They had 5 first-round picks. I love the guard combo Utah added. I love the guard combo Miami now has. Miami getting the Lithuanian point guard and Utah getting a good guard combo. So Very excited to see what happens. But yeah, we're going to call it a night on Talk Shoe. So long. We'll see you guys for tomorrow night. The second round of the NBA draft is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, we'll see you guys then. And, we're going to go with a thumbnail of, probably going to go with a thumbnail of Rasheer Fleming, St. Joseph's. Rasheer Fleming's the only player. Yeah, Fleming is not a guy who should be on the board, still be on the board this late in the first round. That's just my 2 cents. But yeah, first round's over, and 3 hours 46 minutes. This went by very smoothly. Yeah, it took a few minutes, but we got everything handled. And I thought, we did a good job getting everything handled. But yeah, tomorrow we will have day 2 of the NBA draft. I'm going to get a Rasheer Fleming thumbnail, and I'm also going to set up the NHL draft thumbnail for Friday. First round of the NHL draft will be on Friday. And Ron of the Steel Flyers podcast will be co-hosting the NHL draft with me. Yeah, and he's got like a script. I do like Aiden Park. Aiden Park. So Ron Mont and I are going to be hosting the NHL draft on Friday. So I'm going to be doing that. And then, yeah, Saturday we'll have Ron, we'll have William, Joey will be back. It's going to feel like day 3 of the NFL draft, but I think Ron is a great addition. And we had a lot of chemistry on his show. I just hope William and Joey have some good questions to ask Ron and myself, because Ron did a great job with some of these interviews, and I'm looking forward to the NHL draft stuff. And day 2 of the NBA draft tomorrow. Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock, and Rasheer Fleming, not only my best player available, also Jay Billis's best player available, and the Stanford Center and Ryan Kalkbrenner. So Jay Billis and I essentially have the same exact top 3 for best player available. Jay Billis and I rarely agree on anything. We have the exact same top 3. What does that say? Maxime Reynaud and Ryan Kalkbrenner are 1, 2, and 3 on my board as well. So Jay Billis and I have the exact same big board for tomorrow. And I have Tyrese Proctor at 4 on my big board. So that's really the only difference. But we have 4 of the top 6. I'll take that. But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for day 2 of the NBA draft. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, it'll be day one of the NHL draft on Friday. I'm Chris Ransom. Enjoy the NBA. We hope you enjoyed the NBA draft, and we'll be back for part 2 of that tomorrow. So long.